Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Wednesday, a big Wednesday actually, as we do have the FOMC meeting a little bit later. No video today as I look like an absolute human bowling ball, which is very embarrassing. And if you do happen to care, I actually have some pictures on my Instagram, which is in the link in the description below. Also been doing some quick little short updates there as well on the Instagram stories, and then also just like some trading related content plus life related content plus philosophical and actually training as well, weightlifting there, which you may or may not happen to care about. Anyways, with that in mind, I just want to jump into this one right quick here because it is going to be a big day today, and I wanted to wait it out for the video here simply because it's very difficult to do short-term time frame analysis, especially coming into an event like this. Unless you're an actual insider, there's no way to actually know, what the results are going to be. But I do believe that we can use some statistics and probabilities to kind of come at this from a good angle to understand where the major areas of interest are and things to be aware of for today. So with that in mind, I want to bring you back to this chart over here. This is the daily BBWP versus stochastic momentum chart. Daily BBWP obviously is a volatility indicator measuring the dispersion of returns, which the signal is this. The signal is anytime that we have seen it get below 10 percentile, the expansion phase from those extreme lows have led to an average move of about 23.63% over the course of just over 13 days. And the stochastic momentum also has gone in the correct direction about 75% of the time. Obviously, that number is going to go up now because, well, it's worked yet again. But there are a few new things to be aware of with this. They can kind of give us insight as to where to expect this move to perhaps find a bit of its next relief bounce and consolidation. That is not the same thing as a macro low. Wouldn't be calling that at all whatsoever just yet. Need to see a lot of things before that is even a topic of conversation. But what is of interest right here is that we've seen it go from extreme lows now to extreme highs. We're literally at just under 100 percentile for the daily here. So basically what that means is that we don't expect it to stay there for that long. You can think of like volatility as a heartbeat. And when it gets extremely high like this, it's inevitable that it will come down. It's mathematically programmed that it will come down. And that essentially indicates our next consolidation phase, which can lead to continuation or reversal, obviously. But that remains to be seen, and just gives us an insight as to when to expect this current move to find a bit of a bounce and range, most likely. So in this case, we do actually expect to stay up here for a little bit longer, simply because one, this is a very, very strong and explosive move. It's a macro move, if you will. And then two, the BBWP on the low end was there for quite a long time as well. In fact, the only time that we've seen it comparably this low for this long was going back to July of 2020, which was actually leading into Bitcoin's last major breakout. In that case, it was to the upside. Anyways, in this case right here, we can use the average moves to kind of judge, where we are within the trajectory of this. And because, this is an average, there is some variance in the percentage moves that we have seen based off this signal. The last one, for example, that we saw just in May was about 32.24%, obviously. And we have seen moves as much as, I believe, if we go all the way back on over here, yeah, close to 40% actually. So with that in mind, we obviously already hit the average move at 23.63% to the downside. That happened at about $23,000. But if we were to play around with numbers and go for the upper end of that, somewhere around 40%, that would put Bitcoin, actually down around about $19,000. So is it possible that we see a wick somewhere down around there, especially, based off of today's event, the FOMC, and then maybe play out a bit of a bounce? Perhaps yes. But of course, there's no way to actually know that until we get to that event. But for right now, pressure remains to the downside, and there is downside risk as long as this condition is met over here. So basically that is to say that actually is somewhat likely, if you will, as long as Bitcoin is below 26,850 on a daily closing basis for CME specifically. So in this case, that's, we've all seen crazier things than like a $5,000, $6,000 rally, but I'd say it's quite unlikely right now, let's say. So downside pressure still on, and downside targets still do remain. So with that in mind, I do want to pull up a few of the things here as well. So now let's go into the short-term timeframes and discuss why whilst there is still downside pressure, I do think it is relevant to be aware that the short-term timeframes are getting very, very extreme right here. So first and foremost, let's go reference the funding rates. Funding rates are negative 0.011%, which is on the upper end of that. Yeah, we have seen it obviously more negative that even in the more short term here, like the 14th where we saw it at negative 0.03%, leading to the last sort of failed bounce, obviously, but of course, in the short term, that does mean that shorts are paying longs to hold their positions. So, it's just another consideration, especially for the over leveraged and over aggressive bottom shorters, that will, make them more likely to puke out their positions, if they come under any sort of short term pressure. And so, of course, if we come back in over here, we will follow up on yesterday's short term analysis of which, yes, we did get the downside move. We got that hidden bearish evidence playing out right in over here. But now we are building up multiple drives of bullish evidence on the other side. Now, this isn't hourly after all, so this is not like a time frame that is going to contend with a daily. Obviously, there's 24 hourly dildos that go into a daily, but ultimately, I now start to look for this to build up into, a more formidable time frame, like the 4 hour, which, yes, we are starting to build up at least one drive of bullish evidence right here. Now, because this is a macro move, because this is an extreme move, I don't think that just one drive is going to do it, obviously. Preferably 3, maybe even 4 before the next sort of short-term bounce is what I'd be looking for. And that would imply that we actually do get, closures slightly lower than where we're currently at right now, which is our current closing lows are like 20,400, 20,500, something like that. So that could very easily encompass a move down to, 19,000, maybe even a wick below. Definitely possible here. So with all of that in mind, let's now reference the stochastic momentum on the short-term timeframes and then put it into a picture of, where would the areas of interest to the upside be if Bitcoin does bounce. Again, keeping in mind that today's event is going to really drive everything else. So I don't think that that the easy trade is not today. The easy trade is very likely tomorrow, or at least after the event. So if we go over here to CME stochastic momentum, we will see that 4 hour stochastic momentum is pivoted at 20,800. So keep that number in mind. 3 hour is going to be showing, is going to be loading. It's going to be showing 20,800. So very, very close. Hourly is going to be showing 20,650. Okay, so all kind of in the same area right there. 6 hour is going to be showing 21,430, so a little bit higher, and 12 hour is going to be showing 20,750. So kind of the 6 hour is the odd man out right there. Just out of curiosity, the 3 hour and 2 hour are going to be 20,800. It looks like. And I don't think that we actually checked the 2 hour, but 21.4 as well. So all kind of in that same area. If you do see Bitcoin start to close above those regions on those time frames, perhaps it's more likely that we see a bit of a short-term bounce first. And at that point, I'd just be using a Fibonacci retracement to kind of get the areas of interest here. 382, it's all the same levels released yesterday, actually. 382 at 32, 325, 0.5 at 24,400, and 618 right around about 25,500. The reason why this is relevant, especially with the 618, is that I would not be entertaining the possibility, not that I am really at all right now anyways, of any sort of major reversal, especially as long as Bitcoin is below about 25.5 on a higher term time frame closing basis. That would be like the earliest consideration that I'd even think that Bitcoin might have a higher term time frame reversal. And the better level would actually be about 29,000 bucks, or I guess 28.5 is probably okay as well. Anyways, within the context of that, I want to address a few things here with just the general situation. So we've gone over all of this, and now let's go over just the scene here, because this is reminiscent to other extreme times in history, one of which I was actually around for, 08, and the other one, the dot-com bubble, I was not, but I've been around a lot of people who did trade that one, and I've kind of gathered their opinions and studied it myself as well. So the situation is right now, we're seeing like a lot of panicky stories coming out, right? We're seeing 3AC is insolvent. We're seeing Celsius is having issues. We're seeing obviously the Terra Luna situation. We're seeing the Michael Saylor situation, all, so on and so forth. All of these things kind of coming together to create mass panic. I don't think that we've entered mass panic just yet. I think mass panic actually happens below 20,000 bucks, and probably at some point Bitcoin does go below there. But typically when we start to see these sort of stories come out, and layoffs is a big one. Layoffs is a very, very big one. When we start to see these sort of stories come out, it's usually getting pretty damn close to the lows, if you will, in terms of timing. So I'd say, probably we're like 3 to 6 months out, if that. which I know actually probably sounds like a long time to some people out there, but it's actually like pretty reasonable in my opinion. Can that come with another major massive nuke to the downside? Definitely yes, but we're starting to get the opposite but equal effect of the super perma bulls calling for like 500,000, a million, whatever the fuck Bitcoin to the upside. Now we're seeing bearish targets of like 4 digits or like 11,000, 12,000. Hey, these things might be possible over time, yes, but from our current angle right here, don't think it's the most likely. I don't think it's the most likely. So with all of that in mind, I just want to have a nice clean reminder here to, in these sort of situations, stay calm and keep in mind the big picture. Long term, does Bitcoin trade lower over time? Yeah, probably yes. I mean, probably yes. If we look at the quarterly over here, or God forbid the semi-annual, these charts, do suggest that we probably take a nice dump into the mid-teens at some point. But there's gonna be bounces along the way, of course, and it's unlikely to be one straight shot to the downside. So with all of that in mind, I just wanted to come at it from that sort of standpoint. Again, as far as this current move is considered, do we have one more swipe lower? Probably yes, at least as long as this condition is met over here. I do think that is probabilistic, but you can see on the lower time frames that we are building up a case for a decent bounce relatively soon. Not quite there just yet. I would still want to see another drive at minimum on the 4-hour RSI bullish divergence. Preferably another 2 drives would be really, really good. But it is getting there. So with all of that in mind, I think I'll be signing off right now. Again, I want to remind you that I've been a lot more active on Instagram recently. There is a link in the description below. I update a little bit on the market there, but I also kind of keep it open-ended for just lifestyle stuff. So it's not gonna be for everyone, of course, but if that does have an interest to you, well, you can find me there. And with that said, wishing you well as always, take care and see you hopefully soon.